Inspirational stories about life help you appreciate and love. Listen before going to bed. The Man in the Old Coat. Every morning, rain or shine, the man in the old torn coat would walk slowly down Willow Street. His boots were worn, his hair was messy, and his eyes, though tired, carried a strange calmness. Children pointed at him, teenagers laughed. Adults avoided eye contact as if poverty were contagious. People whispered, "He must be homeless. He probably smells. Why doesn't he get a job?" Yet the man never reacted. He simply walked with quiet dignity. One stormy afternoon, the streets were empty, except for him and a woman lying unconscious at a bus stop. Her groceries were scattered, her umbrella broken by the wind. For the first time, he ran. He lifted her gently, covered her with his old coat, and shouted for help. When no one came, he stayed by her, holding her hand, whispering, "You'll be okay." Minutes later, paramedics arrived. One paramedic gasped, "Dr. Rowan, is that you?" The noisy crowd fell silent. People stared confused, embarrassed, small. The paramedic continued, "He's the surgeon who donated everything he had to build the children's cancer wing, the man who saved hundreds of lives." The man in the old coat simply smiled and said, "It doesn't matter who I was, it matters who we choose to be today." He quietly walked away, leaving behind a street full of stunned faces and a lesson they would never forget. The coat wasn't a symbol of poverty. It was the coat he wore during his last surgery, the day he saved a child who had no one left, the day he decided to give away everything and live simply, reminding himself of why he became a doctor in the first place. The Baker's Secret. Mr. Hawley's bakery stood at the corner of a small town, filled every morning with the smell of warm bread. But behind that warm smell was a heavy truth. Business wasn't doing well. Bills piled up, flour prices rose. Some days, he barely made enough to keep the lights on. Still, every morning, an old woman walked in with shaky legs and gentle eyes. "Just the usual?" Mr. Hale would ask. She nodded, smiling, a free loaf of bread tucked into her bag. His wife, exhausted and worried, snapped one night, "Why do you keep giving her free bread? She never pays. We're struggling, Hale." He sighed, "Because she reminds me of my mother." But deep down, he wondered too, who was she? Why never a coin? Why always alone? Then one rainy morning, she didn't come. And she didn't come the next day, or the next week, until a lawyer appeared at their bakery. He placed a sealed envelope on the counter. "She asked me to deliver this in case she didn't return." Inside was a handwritten letter. "Thank you for feeding me when no one else did. I have no children, no family. The key below opens my little home. I leave everything to you." They rushed to her old house. It was small, quiet, and filled with simple furniture. On the table was a wooden box containing money she had saved over a lifetime, more than enough to save the bakery. But the real shock was a photograph on the wall. The old woman standing proudly in front of a school, surrounded by children. She had been a teacher, a beloved one, but abandoned by the world in her old age. She wasn't poor. She simply wanted to know who would treat her kindly when she had nothing to give. And Mr. Hale, the struggling baker, with a kind heart, passed the test without knowing. The broken watch. After his grandfather passed away, Liam inherited a dusty box filled with old things, letters, coins, photographs. Buried at the bottom was an old watch, scratched and silent. He took it to a street vendor first. $5, the man grunted. "It barely works." Unsatisfied, he went to a jeweler. The jeweler examined it closely. "I can give you 200. It's a decent vintage piece." Curious, Liam visited a watch collector next. The collector's eyes widened the moment he saw it. This is a limited edition model from 1928. Rare, valuable. I'll pay $10,000. Liam's heart raced. How can one watch be worth $5 to someone and $10,000 to another? The collector smiled gently. People value you based on their knowledge, not your worth. When Liam returned home, he opened the watch case carefully. Inside, hidden beneath the mechanism, was a folded note from his grandfather. My boy, remember this when life confuses you. Your value does not decrease because someone doesn't see it. Find the people who do. Liam held the watch to his chest, tears forming. For the first time, he understood his grandfather's silent wisdom. The watch was not just valuable, it had been bought by his grandfather on the day Liam was born. He worked extra months, skipped meals, and saved every cent to buy it, believing Liam would need this lesson someday. The last bus home. It was past midnight when the last bus rumbled down the empty street. Clara stepped in with trembling hands, mascara smeared by tears. She tried to hide her face, but the bus was nearly empty. Only an old lady sat quietly near the middle. Clara chose a seat far away, hoping no one would notice she was breaking. But after a few minutes, the old lady stood up slowly and sat beside her. Without looking at Clara's face, she gently placed her wrinkled hand over Clara's shaking one. I don't know what happened, dear, she whispered, but pain doesn't need an introduction. Clara broke down, leaning into the stranger's shoulder. She spoke in broken sentences. My fiancé left, wedding canceled, I have nowhere to go. The old lady stroked her hair like a grandmother comforting a child. You will not believe this now, she said softly, but sometimes people leave because life is clearing space for someone better. Clara felt warmth for the first time that night. When the bus reached the final stop, the old lady squeezed her hand one last time. You're stronger than you think, she said. Smiling gently, Clara blinked away her tears. When she looked back, the old lady was gone. She rushed to the driver. The woman who sat next to me, where did she go? The driver stared at her with wide eyes. Ma'am, no one has sat in that seat for almost 20 years. He pointed to a framed photograph taped to his windshield. That's my mother. She used to sit there every night on this bus, helping anyone who needed comfort. She passed away a long time ago. Clara's body froze. The warmth she felt on her shoulder lingered all the way home. The boy who returned the wallet. 10-year-old Ethan found a leather wallet on the sidewalk. Inside was a thick stack of money and a business card. His friend whispered, "Let's keep it," but Ethan shook his head. My mom says what isn't mine shouldn't stay in my hands. He walked across town to return it. The owner, a tall man in a suit, barely glanced at him. Good, just one cold word. No thank you, no reward. Ethan left discouraged, wondering if honesty was even worth it. Years passed. Ethan grew into a hard-working young man. When he applied for his first job, he sat nervously in a large conference room. The CEO walked in. It was the same man, the wallet man. He stared at Ethan for a long, silent moment. You don't remember me, do you? Ethan hesitated. The wallet. The CEO smiled. I left it there on purpose. I wanted to see if anyone in that neighborhood still valued honesty. You were the only one who returned it. Ethan blinked in disbelief. You demonstrated integrity without knowing you were tested. That's the kind of person I want in my company. He handed Ethan a contract. Twist. Inside the contract folder was the same wallet, now wrapped with a note. Honesty always finds its way back. The silent father. Emma spent her teenage years resenting her father. Her classmates had new phones, designer bags, fancy birthdays. She had budget meals, worn clothes, and a father who always came home tired. One day she exploded. "Why can't you give me what other parents give their kids? Do you even care about me?" Her father just smiled the same quiet smile. "One day, you'll understand." Years went by. Emma moved out, rarely visited. She believed her father never tried hard enough, until the phone rang. Her father had passed away. When she returned home to pack his things, she found a small wooden box labeled, "For Emma, when she's ready." Inside were dozens of receipts, hospital bills, loan payments, debt records from years ago. Each one stamped paid. Emma dropped to her knees. Her father had spent decades paying off debts her mother had left behind before disappearing. He took extra shifts, skipped meals, secretly sold belongings so Emma could have a house, an education, a safe childhood. At the bottom of the box was one small envelope. Inside was the exact amount of money needed to buy the camera Emma had begged for at 16. A shaky note read, "I'm sorry it took me so long. My little girl, I wanted to give you everything. I just didn't want you to carry my burdens." He never bought himself a single new thing, not even once. The silent father. The mirror in the forest. Lucas was a man running from himself. Anger chased him everywhere, anger at his father, his past, his failures, and most of all, at the life he believed he deserved but never reached. One day, overwhelmed, he wandered into the forest behind his childhood home. There, among the trees, he found an old mirror leaning against a stump. But the reflection wasn't his face. It showed his fear of being abandoned, his resentment toward his father, his jealousy of successful friends, his guilt for the people he had hurt. Terrified, Lucas threw a rock at the mirror. It didn't crack. "You cannot break what lives inside you," a voice whispered behind him. He spun around. No one was there. The mirror shifted again, now showing him as a child, crying alone after a fight at home. Lucas fell to his knees. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel the pain he'd buried for years. Hours passed. He spoke to the mirror about every wound, every mistake, every secret shame. The forest stayed silent, listening. When he finally accepted his flaws, not excusing them, but acknowledging them, the mirror slowly changed. Now it showed him, smiling. Not a perfect man, not a successful man, just a man, finally at peace. Twist. When he stood up and turned around, the mirror was gone. But his heart felt lighter than it had in decades. The teacher's last lesson. Mrs. Alden was the strictest teacher in the school. Students feared her. Parents complained about her high standards. But she never changed. "Life won't go easy on you," she would say. "So I won't either." One morning, she collapsed in the classroom. The hospital revealed the truth. She had been battling a serious illness for years, teaching through the pain. When she passed away, a letter was found in her desk. "To my students, I pushed you because the world will push harder. I scolded you because the world will not warn you. I demanded the best because I saw the best in you." Her funeral was small, just staff and a few neighbors. But as the ceremony began, a car arrived, then another, and another. Dozens of adults, former students, stepped out. Doctors, engineers, writers, parents, all crying. They approached her casket one by one, whispering, "She changed my life. She believed in me. She saved me." Twist. One student placed a medal beside her. "Top graduate," it read, on the back. because she refused to give up on me. The wallet full of nothing. A homeless man named Theo lived under a bridge where people rarely noticed him. He spent his days collecting cans and sleeping on old cardboard. One cold evening, he saw a young boy crying beside a grocery store. "What's wrong, kid?" Theo asked. "I lost the money my mom gave me." She'd be so angry. Theo checked his pockets. He had only one coin, enough for a tiny loaf of bread for himself. He pressed it into the boy's hand. "Here, buy what you need. Your mom will be okay." The boy hugged him tightly before running off. Hours later, a black car stopped beside Theo. A man stepped out, the same boy, now grown. "I've been looking for you," the man said. "You helped me when I had nothing." Theo squinted. "I don't understand." The man continued, voice shaking. "That day, we were homeless too. My mother had left us. That coin bought me the only meal we had. It kept me alive long enough for my father to find us." Theo's eyes filled with tears. The man handed him an envelope. "Inside is a job offer, a room, and a new start." Theo choked. "But I have nothing to give you." The man smiled. "You gave everything you had." Inside the envelope was the same coin preserved for 20 years. The woman who returned the umbrella. On a stormy evening, a young woman named Claire found an old umbrella lying on a bus stop bench. It was faded, patched, and clearly important to someone. Most people walked past it without a glance, but Claire picked it up and brought it home. The next morning, when she opened it, a small paper slipped out. "To anyone reading this, please return this umbrella to the old bench on Maple Street every Sunday morning. It belonged to my late wife. I still come there to feel like she's sitting beside me." Claire felt something ache inside her. Instead of keeping the umbrella, she woke up early on Sunday, placed it back carefully, and stayed hidden to see what would happen. An old man arrived, slow steps. Trembling hands, he sat down, held the umbrella, and whispered something to the empty space next to him. Claire watched silently, realizing the umbrella wasn't an object. It was a bridge to a love he couldn't let go. She walked away quietly, knowing she had returned more than an umbrella. She had returned someone's world. Sometimes returning something small is returning someone's heart. The taxi driver who never spoke. Leon, a taxi driver, was known in his city for being silent. Passengers would try to start conversations, but he only replied politely with short answers. People thought he was cold or distant. One night, a woman entered his taxi crying softly. Leon didn't speak, just handed her a small packet of tissues without looking back. She cried the entire 20-minute ride, and when she left, Leon simply said, "Take care." A week later, she returned to the taxi stand holding a note. She handed it to him, smiling. It said, "Thank you. Your silence was the safest place I had that night." Leon nodded silently. People never knew that he used to be a therapist, but after losing his son in an accident, he lost the strength to talk about pain. Yet somehow, without words, he still healed others. You don't always need words to comfort someone. Sometimes your presence is enough. The student who always sat at the back. Jacob always sat in the last row of the classroom. Teachers assumed he was lazy or uninterested. Students rarely talked to him. One day, his teacher announced a project. Describe a person who inspires you. Jacob turned in a single sentence. My inspiration is anyone who tries, even when no one sees them. Curious, the teacher asked him to stay after class. Jacob admitted he sat at the back so he could quietly help a disabled classmate out of class every day without drawing attention. He didn't want praise. The teacher later realized Jacob's test scores were always high, his assignments thorough, yet he never stepped forward. Sometimes the kindest people sit in the back because they're busy lifting others. Not every hero stands in the spotlight, some stand behind others, holding them up. The old painter at the park. Every afternoon, a man painted landscapes at the park, always on the same bench, always facing the same tree. Children loved him, adults ignored him. One day a teenager approached and asked, "Why paint the same tree every day? Don't you get bored?" The old man smiled. "People don't stay the same. Why should a tree?" He opened his sketchbook. Every painting of the same tree looked different, some bright, some lonely, some hopeful, some full of rain. "In these colors," he said softly, "is every version of myself." Lesson: we change daily, and noticing our own change is a quiet form of wisdom. The bakery that opened at midnight. A bakery in an old neighborhood opened only at midnight. No one understood why until a journalist decided to investigate. Inside, he found a tired woman baking bread with surprising tenderness. She explained, "My son was a night shift nurse. Midnight was the only time I could feed him a warm meal. After he died in an accident, I kept the bakery open at the hour he always came home." The journalist wrote nothing that night. Instead, he sat with her and shared a loaf of bread, soft, warm, filled with memories. Some businesses run on profit, hers ran on love. Lesson: the things we maintain are often not for the living but for the ones we can't forget. The boy who counted stars. A boy spent every night counting stars on the balcony. His neighbors thought he was simply dreamy. One evening, a woman asked him, "Why do you count?" "There are too many." The boy smiled. "I'm not counting stars. I'm counting wishes." His father had promised that for every wish the boy made, he would make the same wish. But the father passed away that year. Still, the boy continued, whispering wishes into the sky. "Maybe he still hears me," he said. Lesson: love doesn't disappear, it just becomes quieter. The man who repaired broken clocks. A small shop repaired clocks for almost no money. People assumed the owner was poor or unskilled. One customer asked him, "Why charge so little?" He replied, "When my wife was alive, she loved listening to clocks tick. After she passed, the silence almost killed me. So I fixed clocks, so they keep ticking for others." That day, his shop didn't seem sad anymore. It was full of life, tiny ticking hearts beating on the walls. Lesson: healing sometimes sounds like a ticking clock. The letter found in a second-hand book. Emily bought a used book and discovered a folded letter tucked inside. It read, "If you find this, know that I once loved someone but never had the courage to tell them. Maybe you'll be braver than I was." Weeks later, Emily met someone she liked deeply. Normally, she kept quiet, afraid of rejection. But she remembered the letter's trembling honesty. She confessed her feelings, and to her surprise, he felt the same. A stranger's regret became her courage. Lesson: someone else's unfinished story can help you finish yours. The man who gave flowers to strangers. Every Friday, a man stood in the subway giving flowers to strangers. Most people thought he was odd. One day a curious commuter asked why. He said, "My daughter loved giving flowers to people. After she died, I realized the world needed more of her kindness. So every Friday, I give the flowers she no longer can." People started accepting the flowers differently from the hands of love, not a stranger. Lesson: kindness can outlive the person who started it. The woman who never took photos. In a world obsessed with capturing everything, Nia never took photos. Her friends teased her for not keeping memories, but one day she revealed the truth. I spent so much of my life taking pictures that I missed the moments themselves. Now I keep memories in my heart, not my phone. Years later, she didn't have albums, she had stories, feelings, colors, scents, and emotions that no camera could ever capture. Lesson: some moments are meant to be lived, not stored. And so, through each of these stories, we are reminded of a simple truth. Life is always speaking to us, quietly, gently, patiently, sometimes through kindness, sometimes through pain, and sometimes through the smallest moments we often overlook. Each story carries a lesson, but the real transformation begins when we choose to apply it. Be mindful of your thoughts, intentional with your words, and compassionate with your actions. Because everything you send out eventually finds its way back to you. Before you leave, take a deep breath, let the wisdom settle in your heart. And remember, growth is a lifelong journey, not a destination. Thank you so much for listening today. If these stories touched you, inspired you, or helped you reflect even a little, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another moment of reflection. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of your heart, and keep growing, one story at a time.